Hello and welcome to another episode of the BSN Sports podcast. Today is Monday, September 5th. Hope everybody's having a good day so far and had a good rest of their day yesterday. It is, in fact, Monday, September 5th here today. It is Labor Day, so hopefully everybody's enjoying their day so far, their day off, as we get ready for the football season right around the corner. Baseball as well continues to heat up. Hopefully everybody had a good weekend. It was a very packed weekend in the world of sports. You had all the baseball on, Yankees, Mets. It was not a very good weekend for the Yankees and the Mets, although the Yankees got the win yesterday. It was ugly, but it's still a win. A win is a win. You got to take them as however you can right now as a Yankee fan because they're really hard to come by right now, and the Mets have a really tough series against the Nationals, have a big win on Friday night, fall Saturday, and they lose again yesterday, and it's like now they lose 2 or 3 against the Nationals. It's just that can't happen. It's baseball. I understand that anything can happen, but you cannot lose a series to the Nationals. And look, the Nationals are a struggling team. And for the Mets, given that they're one of the better teams in baseball, you should have swept the Nationals easily. So the Mets struggle. They lose 2 or 3. Yankees lose 2 or 3 as well. Mets win the first game. Yankees win the last game. So Yankees, head into now this series against the Twins, with a little bit more breathing room. Because if they would have lost yesterday, they would have been only 2 up in the loss column, and things would have still been very, very, very concerning. So, tough weekend for the Mets and a tough weekend for the Yankees. Even though the Yankees won yesterday, there still are those concerns on this roster. There's still those worries on this roster. And, you really wonder, outside of Aaron Judge, this Yankee team is not hitting at all. And that's a real concern. So a tough weekend for the Yankees and Mets, although the Yankees were able to get a win yesterday. And you just hope, and I talk about this often, you're glad they got the win. It wasn't pretty. It was an ugly win. It wasn't, they left 10 runners on. They got, they scored only 2 runs. It took a strike call that was questionable in the bottom of the 9th on Yandy Diaz to win the game. All that stuff. I understand that. But you just have to take these wins as many as you can. They finally hit 80 wins, and you just have to hope that one of these wins sparks something in this team, something to get back to where they were earlier in the year. That's all you have to hope for. So Yankees will open up a 4-game set today against the Twins at Yankee Stadium. Will be a little matinee game on Labor Day. Mets will also have a matinee game today against the Pirates as they'll open up a series in Pittsburgh, open up a road trip. So Yankees go home, Mets hit the road. They'll open up a series against the Pittsburgh Pirates, and the Yankees will open up a series of 4-game set against the Twins before welcoming the Rays to town later this week. So a big series against the Twins. If you could try to find a way to take 3 or 4, you might not have to. That Rays series, you go into it might not be as high pressured. If you lose 3 or 4 against Minnesota and you go into that Rays series 1 game up, well, then there's concerns. So let's hope this win could spark something within this Yankee team. All right, so the topics for today's podcast, you know the drill. It's game week. It's officially game week. Can't believe I'm saying that. Super pumped up. 3 days away from Thursday Night Football, and we are, 6 days away from the NFL season, from the first Sunday of the NFL season, I should say, first Sunday of Jets football. So we're gonna continue our weekly or daily thing here. Today I'm gonna do my AFC South record predictions or standings predictions and records. So I did the East. I did the North. Today we're going to start with the South. Tomorrow we'll go to the NFC South. Wednesday will be the AFC West. And then Thursday will be the NFC West. So we'll close things out then. So this is going to be the AFC South today. We'll give you my projections, where each team falls, and we'll do another standings today. Our second topic will be Aaron Judge. I've talked about him this year, but I really want to hit him again today because he continues to dominate. Yet, if it wasn't for Aaron Judge, we lose this series most likely. And he's just been dominant this season. So I got to talk about Aaron Judge. I got to talk about him. He's been dominant. Why he's the MVP? And without Aaron Judge, this Yankee team would be absolutely nothing. So we're going to get to Aaron Judge's dominance in the second topic, and we'll finish things off with the New York sports update. As always, finish things off today. Yankees open up a 4-game set against the Twins. Mets open up, I believe it's a 3-game set against the Pirates in Pittsburgh. Beautiful park. PNC Park, I think it is. Beautiful field in Pittsburgh. Awesome stadium. I really want to go. Yankees played there earlier this year. Good stadium. So Mets look to bounce back. Again, I said this. This is the part of their schedule they got to take advantage of. Right now, losing 2 or 3 against the Nationals, that is not taking advantage of this weak part of their schedule in which they play a lot of really, really struggling teams coming up. All right, so with all that being said, this is the BSN podcast, and let's get into it. So today I'm going to give you my AFC South record and standings predictions. As you know, AFC East, I've done the AFC and NFC East, I've done the AFC North, NFC North, and today I'm going to get to the South. Tomorrow will be the NFC South, and then Wednesday will be the AFC West, and we'll close things out on Thursday, which will also be game day between the Bills and the Rams with my NFC West prediction. So we're halfway through now. We're a little bit more than halfway through after we completed. If you're interested in watching any of the other ones, they're up on the channel, as you know. I've done the AFC East, done the AFC North. So today we do the AFC South. All right, so last year in the AFC South, these were how the standings unfolded. There was only one playoff team that came out of the AFC South last season, and that was the Tennessee Titans. They finished in first at 12-5. Colts finished in second at 9-8. Texans finished in third and 4-13, and the Jags finished in laughing stock of the league under Urban Meyer at 3-14. So again, Titans were the only team that came out of this division last year. They ended up losing to the Bengals in the divisional round, and as we obviously know, Colts, Texans, Jaguars didn't make it. Colts almost made it, but Carson Wentz blew it week 18 against the Jaguars. So last year was definitely an interesting division, and the AFC South has always been an interesting division because it's never really been that dominant division. You know, it's one of those divisions where it's kind of ugly football. It's not the most flashiest, fun teams to watch ever. It's a lot of times one playoff team that comes out of it. The past couple of years, it's kind of been Tennessee and Indianapolis battling it out. And then, Texans and Jaguars have kind of rebuilding. Deshaun Watson had the Texans up there for a while. Now they're kind of back down. It's kind of been all over the place. So here's how I see the standings playing out. So we're going to start off. I have first place. It's really a battle between two teams, I think. But first place, I have the Indianapolis Colts finishing in first this year. And again, I've mentioned this a lot of times on this podcast over the past couple days while I've been doing the AFC East, NFC East, AFC and NFC North, and then obviously today doing the South. The Colts last season obviously finished 9-8, and they struggled. They struggled all year to kind of build that consistency. They had a couple good wins, couple bad losses. They were kind of all over the place, right? And a lot of the big reason why. And again, I've talked about this often. A big reason why they struggled so much last season was because of their quarterback position, Carson Wentz, who was just not the answer, really struggled last year, and obviously was the big reason why having an awful Week 18 game against the Jaguars, a big reason why they missed the postseason, and the Pittsburgh Steelers ended up getting in. So this year, you look at the Colts, they upgraded their quarterback position. They brought in Matt Ryan. Wentz obviously now with the Washington Commanders. And when I look at the rosters in this AFC South, the Colts and the Jaguars are those two rosters that truly, truly improved. The Texans, you can kind of say, all right, new coach. They kind of stayed the same. They do have some pieces. But the Titans, you could say, definitely got worse. The Colts are one of those teams you could definitely say got better. They brought in Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan's an automatic upgrade over Carson Wentz, and you know that because Carson Wentz has really struggled. Matt Ryan's a guy that's been to a Super Bowl and is the guy that, is still a very competent and solid quarterback. Carson Wentz, it seems like he's on this downward spiral. And however long Matt Ryan is with the Colts, that's to be determined. You had Phillip Rivers, you had Carson Wentz, now you're on to Matt Ryan. What's next year going to be? A different quarterback? We'll see. But the Colts got better. That's how I see it. And they already have some pieces. Their offense obviously led by, Michael Pittman, third-year wide receiver, who's having a very, very good career right so far. Obviously, was a rookie in 2020, got better last year, and I think this year is going to be truly a breakout year for Michael Pittman. You look at their running back, it's Jonathan Taylor. I mean, he's number one fantasy running back out there, one of the best running backs in all of football. They got a good running game. They got a very good offensive line. Their offense, although on paper might not look crazy flashy with all these weapons, they got just enough. Good offensive line, good run game, that mixes well. They got a veteran quarterback. They got an upgrade at quarterback over Carson Wentz. And oh yeah, they got a young receiver entering his third year ready to take off and have a massive year. So their offense is solid. You look at their defense headlined by, Shaquille Leonard. They got a very solid defensive core. They got a couple nice pieces on the defensive side of the ball. I like this Colts team a lot. I don't think they're 11, 12, 13 win team, but I think they're going to do just enough to win the division. My floor for the Colts is 7-10. I don't think they can get much worse. Look, your floor for them is 7-10, and I think this because their floor is if you struggle, if your quarterback struggles, the offense can't get on a groove, and if the defense has got holes all over the place. The defense, again, there's not a ton of big names on the defense, but they do enough to win games. And again, there's not a ton of, you don't look at this roster and you don't say, oh my gosh, look at all these weapons. They got it just enough. It might not be the biggest name players, but they do enough to win. So I have their floor at 7-9. I have their ceiling at 12-5. It could be 12-6. There's a couple games on there where you could say could go either way. Ceiling 12-5, could be 11-6, but I'm going to go with 12-5. And my prediction for the Colts this season is they finish 9-8 and win the division. Number 2, second place team, I have the Tennessee Titans. Again, when I look at the Colts, I look at them, they got better this offseason. They had an upgrade over quarterback, one of the most important positions out there. They have a very good offensive line. You can't say that about the Tennessee Titans. And if anything, the Tennessee Titans are getting worse after Harold Landry tears his ACL and is now most likely out for the year. They placed him on injury reserve. They're one of the better edge rushers out there. Definitely the Titans' best edge rusher. You can make the argument, Kevin Byard also in the secondary is pretty solid. But you can make the argument he's one of their best defenders as well. Had a great year last year, was very good in the postseason, got to Burrow a lot in that divisional round, so they miss him. And you look at this Titans offense, they don't really have anybody. Outside of Derrick Henry, there are a ton of questions. The offensive lines, the offensive line is what it is. You look at the receivers, it's kind of, you're relying on Robert Woods, who did not play much last year, has been very injury prone, getting up there in age. You have a couple, you lost A.J. Brown. Obviously, you no longer have Corey Davis. Your questions at quarterback are serious questions. What is Ryan Tannehill? And what are you getting out of Malik Willis, your draft pick this year? I look at this Titans team, there's a lot more questions than there are answers. Now, you have Derrick Henry. As long as Derrick Henry's healthy, you're going to be able to win some football games. You do have Austin Hooper at the tight end position, a nice, solid, reliable tight end. He's not Darren Waller. He's not Travis Kelce. He's not Mark Andrews, but he's a reliable tight end, especially for an offense that, is without many of their good pieces. Again, they lost Corey Davis. Then they lost A.J. Brown back-to-back seasons. They lost their 2 best receivers. They also lost Jonnu Smith last offseason, their solid tight end. They've all lost some of their 3 biggest weapons in the passing game, and now they're kind of relying on guys like Robert Woods and some of these other smaller guys. I don't mean height-wise, but just meaning guys that aren't going to put up much production. And Ryan Tannehill coming off a year in which he struggled a little bit, and you have Malik Willis, a rookie quarterback. So there's a lot of questions. I like the coach. I like Mike Vrabel a lot. I know his way of doing things is a heavy defense. Offense isn't always going to be pretty, but I don't know. I look at this Titans team. They still have some talent, and as long as Derrick Henry's healthy, they're going to win games because Derrick Henry can rush for 200 yards and carry a team. He can just do that. But when I look at them up against the Colts, I see the Colts got better, and you can't say that about the Texans, and there's a lot more questions, or Titans rather. There's a lot more questions on this Titans roster than there is on the Colts. So Titans, I have their floor at 5-12. I think it can get as bad as 5-12. And again, it might not even be just a specific record. It's if Tannehill struggles and Malik Willis struggle and your offense an absolute mess. And you go into the offseason, maybe Vrabel, now there's questions around Vrabel. Then you maybe start to question, the quarterback spot. What is Malik Willis? That's kind of it. That's kind of your floor at 5-12. Your ceiling's 10-7. Again, if Derrick Henry dominates and Tannehill gets a connection with Robert Woods and gets a connection with Austin Hooper and this defense plays like this defense has played for a long time, which is solid. I know the defense isn't great, but it's not terrible. They could get to 10-7. It could also be 9-8. But they might be able to get to that 10-7 win mark and push for the division. It's possible. And my prediction is 7-10. Again, they got some talent, just not enough, and there's a lot more questions. And when I look at this Titans team who won 12 games last year, they got significantly worse, not better. Colts got better, Titans got worse. That's how I see it. So I have the Titans finishing in second at 7-10. My third place team is Jacksonville Jaguars. There's a lot of excitement around the Jaguars. Look, you bring in a new coach, Doug Peterson, Super Bowl winning coach with Philly. I know it didn't end in Philly exactly the best way possible. But when I look at Doug Peterson, he's an automatic upgrade over Urban Meyer. And I look at this Jaguars team cannot get much worse as it was last season. Now, do I think this Jaguars team is heavily talented? No, I think there's still some areas to improve. Their offensive line's not bad. They have 2 very solid running backs. Their receiving core is my biggest concern with this Jaguars team. Because when you look at this Jaguars receiving core, you went out and gave Christian Kirk $84 million. I don't think he's worth that. You're relying on Zay Jones, and you got rid of, obviously, Laviska Shenault. You're relying on Zay Jones, Christian Kirk to be your two big guys. I just don't know if that's going to happen. You're also relying on Marvin Jones Jr., who's solid, but him and Lawrence last year could not get much of a connection. So when I look at this roster, I look at this roster with a lot of potential, but a lot of question marks. Because you're relying on Zay Jones, Christian Kirk, and Marvin Jones Jr. to be your three big guys on offense. You have two very solid running backs. Travis Etienne is going to be very good, and you know that James Robinson has a lot of potential. Obviously, last season with the injury, coming back, very solid guy. Two very good running backs. You still have question at quarterback. You don't know what Trevor Lawrence is going to be, right? You still don't. You expect him to be solid, but you still don't know what he's really going to be. And you look at your receiving core, it's a lot of questions. There's not many proven guys there. And there's also, Zay Jones. What is he? Obviously was in Buffalo, really struggled, went to Vegas, went to the Raiders, still kind of struggled. Now he's with Jacksonville. He's kind of shown flashes, but what is he? Christian Kirk, a guy that it was all right in Arizona. Is he worth $84 million? And then Marvin Jones Jr., who's solid, but can him and Trevor Lawrence really get on the same page, unlike they were able to do last season? So I look at this Jaguars team. There's definitely potential to be a lot of talent, and they got the right coach, and you know that. He's an automatic upgrade over Urban Meyer. But if these pieces don't land correctly, and you're looking at a receiving core of Christian Kirk, Zay Jones, and Marvin Jones Jr. on paper looks all right. But if they start to struggle, it's going to be terrible. If they play well, then they're going to make some noise. But you just don't know because they're just Christian Kirk's kind of, you look at these three guys. Marvin Jones Jr., I would say, is the most reliable right now. But him and Trevor Lawrence has got to get on connection. You didn't see that a ton last year. Zay Jones, you don't know about. And Christian Kirk, he might be good, but is he worth $84 million? So there's a lot of question on this Jaguars team. You go to the defense, there's definitely some pieces there. You obviously Florent Fatukasi that came over from the Jets. He's a nice younger piece that can make a little bit of noise in that defensive line room. Again, I like the coach. I think Doug Peterson's the right move. I don't think they can get much worse. But what I will tell you is this, and my floor for the Jaguars is 2-15. And I want to say this first, before you crush me on their floor. Again, this is the team's floor. This is the worst it could get. That's not my prediction. This is the worst the team can get. Their floor I have at 2-15. And the reason I have this at 2-15 is if their schedule's tough. The AFC South schedule's tough. You look at the schedule in the AFC South. I think it's the Jaguars or the Texans. They have a stretch of games where they have like 6 straight games against the Broncos, the Chiefs, the Chargers, the Raiders, all these teams. If it gets real bad and Trevor Lawrence is struggling, defense isn't doing well, and you have Christian Kirk, Zay Jones, and Marvin Jones Jr. not playing well, it could get real bad because now you really have no receivers. So that's my biggest concern with the Jaguars. Their floor I have at 2-15. Their ceiling I have at 7-10. Because again, if these receivers come through, you can see them getting to the 7-10 mark with Trevor Lawrence playing well. And also, I want to say this too about the floor. That's if Trevor Lawrence also struggles. And then you go into the offseason with more questions than answers. Similar to all these other teams with young quarterbacks. Jets as well. Same thing with the Jets. Same thing with the Texans. All these teams with young quarterbacks. If they go into the offseason with more questions than answers and don't know what the quarterback is and don't know what the coach is, those are your floors. My ceiling 7-10 for the Jaguars, and I think that because, look, if they can get on the same page, you have some weapons. You just don't know really what they're going to be. You have some weapons, but they haven't fully proven themselves. If they start to prove themselves and they start to get on a roll, all right, now you can get to that 7-win mark. My actual prediction, though, is I have them finishing at 5-12. I think you're going to see a little bit of improvement from Lawrence. I think you're going to see, some solid things. Again, their roster still, there's a lot of pieces. There's still a lot of things that need to be worked on. But I think this year is going to be this year is going to be better. It's going to be 5-12. It's going to be better. They're going to win 2 more games than they did last year. The new coach, you kind of have to set back the clock a little bit with a new coach, right? It's unlike the Jets where year 2, you make that jump. Year 1 now with a new coach, you kind of have to expect maybe some growing pains. Now, Doug Peterson's been in the league. It's not like he's a first-time coach, but still, you still have to expect some growing pains under a new coach sometimes. So that's number 3. I have the Jaguars finishing in third at 5-12. Now, number 4, I have the Texans. And again, I know you look at this Texans team, and there's a lot of people out there that think this team might be able to make some noise. I know Davis Mills last season under the radar had a really good rookie season, some of the best out of all the rookie quarterbacks. I know when you look at, the running game, Dameon Pierce has had a very good camp, had a very good preseason. He looks like he very well could be the starter. You do have Lovie Smith as your coach, which you wonder how that plays out. You do go out and you have Brandon Cooks at one of your receiver spots. You look at the defense, the defense is all right. I just don't know. I don't know about this Texans team. I really don't. I just don't think there's enough there. Outside of Brandon Cooks, the receiving core is not phenomenal. Your running back game, you do have Dameon Pierce. I know Davis Mills played well last year. This roster is pretty bare. It's pretty bare. Again, I talk about the Jaguars. Their roster needs help, but they have some pieces in place that could do some damage. Now, is that going to happen? We'll see. I can't necessarily say that about Houston, right? They have a new coach in Lovie Smith. I just don't know what he's going to be like. I know, I think he coached with Tampa, a couple years back or more years back, but yeah, I just don't know. I'm not a huge fan of. I don't know if Lovie Smith's really going to be the guy. You wonder you question Davis Mills. Yes, he played well last year, but what is he going to be in a full season? You look at this roster, it's a bare roster. There's not much talent there. And again, at the end of the day in this league, you need talent. You need talent to win. And I just don't see that on this Houston team. I just don't. I understand Davis Mills had a good year last year. I get all that. But I can't sit here and buy into the notion of Davis Mills is going to be this big quarterback, Brandon Cooks is going to turn into this elite receiver, and you're going to have Dameon Pierce being in the rushing yards leader conversation. I just don't buy into that. Now, again, their floor and ceiling are the same as the Jaguars. I have their floor at 2-15. I have their ceiling at 7-10. The reason I have their ceiling at 7-10 is because Davis Mills did show you some positives last year. If he does that and he shows you some positives again this year, okay, maybe you can get to a 6-7 win mark, right? I just don't know if I just don't really see that happening because I just don't think he's got enough around him. And I talk about this a lot with these Texans teams. Some of these teams, it's not always about the schedule, the rosters. It's also about the schedule. Let me just read you a stretch of games that the Texans are going to have this year. Okay, just listen to this. They're going to have to play Chargers. Now they do have the Jaguars, but the Raiders, Titans, Eagles, Texans, Commanders, Dolphins. That's kind of one of their stretches. And then you got Cowboys. You have Cowboys, Chiefs, and then you got the Colts again. There's a couple really, really tough stretches on a couple of these teams' rosters or schedules. Again, when you pair them up against the Cowboys, what are they? When you pair them up and you look at their own division, who has more talent, Colts or Texans? Colts do. They're probably going to win both those games. Titans probably will win both those games, right? I just don't think the Texans have enough talent. Now, if Davis Mills plays well enough, maybe they get to the 6-7 win mark. I have them at 7-10 as their ceiling. I just don't see it. So I have their prediction finishing 4-13. I could see them getting as bad as 3-14. I don't know if they'll get that bad. Again, when you just pair this team up, they're one of the worst rosters in football. They have one of the worst rosters in football. They do. I know their quarterback might have some promise, but who's he throwing to? Brandon Cooks. I don't know. So Texans, I have finishing 4-13, finishing last, and I have the Colts making the playoffs out of this division. So I have the Colts finishing first again. Let me just repeat this. Colts finishing first at 9-8, Texans in second, 7-10, Jaguars in third, 5-12, Texans in last, finishing 4-13. I just don't think this is going to be an incredibly competitive division. I think the Colts will win this division. Again, they're going to be 9-8. I don't think the Colts win 10 games this year. Maybe they do. I have them at 9-8. And I have them making the playoffs. So out of the AFC now, I have the Bills making the playoffs, the Ravens and the Bengals making the playoffs, and the Colts making the playoffs. So that will set up AFC West for 3 teams to make the postseason, in my opinion. So I'll reveal those 3 teams on Wednesday. Tomorrow we'll go to the NFC South. Wednesday will be the AFC West, and then Thursday will be NFC West. So that should be good. So, again, AFC South, I look at this as Colts got better, Texans. To sum this up in a very, very short way. Colts got better, Texans got worse, or Titans got worse, Jaguars have promise, Texans just don't have enough talent. That's how I see it. That might sound simple, I was trying to make it simple. I just look at this division. Again, you look at these other divisions, you can make an argument for a lot of these teams. I just don't see that in this division. I just don't. I think this is one of the weaker divisions in football. I think the division winner is 9-8. That's how I see it. And I don't think you're going to see much action in the postseason out of this division. I think you're going to see the Colts. And again, how do the Colts stack up against the Chiefs? How do they stack up against the Bills? This is the AFC South has kind of become a division where it's really, really struggled. And I know last year they were just one game away from the Colts were one less maybe Carson Wentz interception away or one less Carson Wentz bad game away from making the postseason. And you look at the division, you have two postseason teams rather than just one. But I don't know. Looking at these rosters, there's not a ton of talent in this division. I understand you have Jonathan Taylor. I get that. And there's definitely some pieces on the Titans too and Derrick Henry. And I get that. But when you really take a deep dive into these teams, Colts got better. Titans got worse. Jaguars, there's hope, promise. Texans just don't have enough. So that's how I see this division. Colts finishing first, Titans second, Jaguars third, and the Texans finishing last, and Colts will make the playoffs. So right now, 4 playoff teams, Bengals, Ravens, Bills, Colts, and then I have 3 coming out of the AFC West, and I'll reveal that to you on Wednesday. Tomorrow, like I mentioned, will be the NFC South, and then Thursday will be the NFC West to close it out and get ready for the season. All right, so that's what I got for my AFC South predictions. As we wrap up one more, and then we wrap up the AFC. Tomorrow will be back in the NFC. And, so we're shifting gears now. We get into a little bit of baseball. So we just got done, obviously, with football, getting a little bit of baseball here. As yesterday, the New York Yankees, it was ugly, but they did find a way to win a game. They beat the Rays 2-1. They do lose the series. They lose the series to the Rays 2 games out of 3. They lost on Friday 9-0. That was embarrassing. They lost Saturday, embarrassing 2-1, and they win again yesterday. They won yesterday 2-1. And what's crazy, I just want to say this: out of this series, Judge had 2 of the 3 RBIs with the home run in yesterday's game, and on Saturday he also had a home run, and he scored all 3 runs. He scored the run on the double by or he scored a run on the sac fly by Oswaldo Cabrera yesterday. Obviously the home run he scored, and obviously the home run yesterday. So out of the 3, the Yankees, this just shows you, in 27 innings of baseball this weekend, the Yankees scored 3 runs. All 3 of those runs were by Judge. Judge also drove in 2 of those runs with a solo home run in the first inning yesterday and a solo home run in the 9th inning on Saturday. And just to basically say it, and I know everyone kind of knows this, without Aaron Judge, this Yankee team is nothing. This Yankee team is nothing without Aaron Judge. And I think we've all kind of come to the realization of that. And it's concerning because, it's tough to rely on one guy going into the postseason. Again, I always say this in sports. Basketball, you can rely on one guy. You can rely on a LeBron James and nobody else around him to win a championship. He did it in Cleveland. I know he had Kyrie Irving, but even the years past that, he was able to get to the finals. Basketball is the one sport where you can have one guy kind of take it himself and go all the way. Hockey, it's tough because you can have a goaltender that's really good and have a really struggling offense, but your goaltender can kind of take you to the promised land. Football, football, you need to have all the pieces. If you got a terrible defense, you're not going to do anything. You need a good defense. You need a good offense. You need a quarterback. And you look at baseball, you need more than one piece because you need another bat. You can't have one bat in the lineup. I mean, look at the Angels all these years. It was Mike Trout for all these years. Nobody else. Sure, you could say Albert Pujols, but he really wasn't producing at the level he was producing earlier in his career. I know he's at 695 home runs now, and that chase is historic. We got 2 historic home run chases going on. Pujols 5 away from 700, Judge 9 away from 62, which would beat Maris's record, make have the American League record for all-time home runs. I think he's on pace right now for 64, 28 games left. Judge needs 9 home runs to get to 62. Baseball, you need more. You need more than one piece, and it's showing right now on this Yankee team. Outside of Aaron Judge, this Yankee team is nothing. There's nothing on this Yankee team outside of Aaron Judge. DJ LeMahieu has struggled recently. He's also dealing with the foot injury. He's just looked real, real bad. And again, I like DJ, and And I do think he could turn it around. But that toe injury, he's really struggled. Oswaldo Cabrera's come up. He's been all right, but he hasn't been a game-changing player. You look at Stan, he's really struggled. He's behind on about every fastball since coming off the IL. Josh Donaldson's terrible. IKF is what he is. Again, I don't know why Yankee fans hate IKF. I know he made an error yesterday. I know his fielding hasn't been the greatest. He's stronger at third base than he is at shortstop. Yankee fans need to realize that. IKF, again, he's a guy in this lineup just to kind of complement the big bats. That's why we brought him in. He's a stopgap. A lot of Yankee fans out there are acting like IKF. We signed him for $230 million, and he's not producing. This is a guy he's not a guy that we brought in to bat 300 and crank in 30 home runs and have 110 RBIs. That's not why we brought him here. We brought him here to be a stopgap, to be a bridge to Volpe for the next year or two before Volpe's ready. So Yankee fans out there crushing IKF, saying he's the worst player on the team, just isn't fair. Because when we brought him in, we weren't expecting him to produce at an incredibly high level. He's a stopgap for a reason. In the NFL, there's quarterbacks that are stopgaps for a reason. They're a bridge to another quarterback. I mean, come on now. Again, he's not supposed to hit 290 and crank in 30 homers and 110 RBIs. He is what he is. So IKF, he is what he is. But for a guy to be relied on, he's another guy too. Like he's all right, but he's not a game changer. Then you go to Aaron Hicks, he's terrible. Oswald Peraza, and again, I have nothing against him. I have nothing against Peraza. But all the Yankee fans acting like they know everything with the advanced analytics that wanted Peraza up. Well, now what the situation you're in. Peraza's done nothing in the 2 games he's up here. Other than he struck out twice yesterday, including one time with a runner on second and third, which they ended up never scoring that inning because Trevino ended up flying out and then Judge ended up flying out. So they left 2 runners on that inning. He struggled. He has struggled. Again, did you rush him up? Who knows? And then Higashioka's been awful. You go to the bench, Rizzo's been struggling. Marwin Gonzalez, terrible. You do have Trevino who came off the bench yesterday. He's been good. Other than Aaron Judge, Jose Trevino is solid, but other than Aaron Judge, there's been nobody. Nobody. And you look at the other big bats in this lineup, Stanton and Rizzo, they've been really, really struggling. Rizzo has the back issue, had to get the epidural. He's been back in New York over the past couple days. He hopes to maybe join the team again tomorrow, or be back with the team again tomorrow. I think today, which is going to be a day game, I think he said he's going to, today he said he's going to do a pregame workout and then hopefully be back in the lineup tomorrow. Who knows? We'll see. He's dealing with a back. Is that back going to bother him the rest of the year? It very well might. DJ Mayu, that toe might be bothering him the rest of the year. Stanton, you just hope. And I think and they mentioned this yesterday on the broadcast, out of those players, I think everybody kind of is just waiting to see Stanton break out of it. He's the one guy. Because we know this about Stanton. Stanton, anytime Stanton comes off the IL, it takes him like 3 weeks to get back into a groove. It always has. It always will, always has. It's weird because he always comes off the IL and he always struggles. It always takes him like 3 weeks, like 50 at-bats to finally get back into a groove. He'll bat like 180 and then all of a sudden start tearing it up. So you hope that by the time October rolls around, Stanton's in a roll. Stanton's in a rhythm. But watching this Yankee team, there's just nothing outside of Judge. There's nothing. There's nothing. And again, when you talk about this is why Aaron Judge is the MVP, at the beginning of this season, when we were talking about Judge being in a contract year, right? In a contract year, elected not to take the deal the Yankees proposed to him on opening day. It seemed as maybe there was a little bit of frustration around how the numbers got leaked, all that stuff, whatever it may be. In a contract year at the beginning of the year, we said this. We all kind of put out our projections and said, what if Judge does this? What if Judge does this? What if Judge does this, right? What if Judge hits 60 home runs and, hits 55 homers? Do the Yankees extend him? What if he's injured? What if he struggles? All that stuff. All that stuff comes into play. Knock on wood, he's been healthy. At the beginning of the year, when we all put up those projections of the possible fanatizing Judge hitting like 55 bombs, batting 300, leading the league in RBIs, leading the league in homers, getting a massive deal, is now coming to life. He hit his 53rd home run yesterday, which was a leadoff shot in the top of the first off of Sean Armstrong, who threw 3 innings, 1 run, 1 hit. The only hit was Judge, 1 walk, 2 Ks. His ERA went from 4.27 to 4.26. He had a leadoff home run. He is now at 53 home runs. So all these high-end projections at the beginning of the year when everyone's like, well, what if Judge hits 55 home runs? Do you give him all this? Do you give him this money? Do you give him this? Now we find ourselves in that situation. He's 9 home runs away from having the record. He's 8 away from tying. He needs 9 home runs in the next 28 games to get to the mark of Roger Maris, to beat Roger Maris, beat the Yankee record, beat the American League record for home runs in a single season. And at this rate, he's definitely going to be able to do it. And outside of Judge, this team's nothing. Look at the weekend. Look at over the weekend. He scored all 3 of the runs and drove in 2 of them with 2 solo home runs himself. Yankees scored 3 runs over the weekend. And I got to admit, Tiki Barber, who does a great job at WFAN, has said this for a very long time For a very long time now. He has said multiple times throughout this season, if Aaron Judge doesn't hit, the Yankees don't win. And that's coming true. That's coming true more than ever. Because if Judge doesn't hit, Judge didn't hit on Friday. Not meaning he wasn't in the lineup, meaning if he doesn't get a hit or he doesn't get a home run, Yankees don't win. I know he had a solo shot on Saturday and still lost. But yesterday, leadoff home run, gave the team a little bit of juice. They find a way to win. He gets on base with a double. He was 3 for 5 yesterday, 2 runs and an RBI. I mean, outside of Aaron Judge, this team's nothing. And when you bring up the MVP conversation, I talked a little bit about this. I think it was on, Thursday or Friday? I think it was Thursday. As I look at my notes here, I think it was Thursday when I talked about this. When you bring up the MVP conversation, it's most valuable player. Most valuable player on a team, right? When you bring it up between Shohei Ohtani and Aaron Judge is not even close. He's the MVP. He's the MVP. He's having a historic season. I don't care if Shohei Ohtani pitches. Aaron Judge is having a historic season. He's 9 home runs away from setting the American League record in a contract year for home runs. A record that many thought would never be broke. Well, Judge is 9 away. The second closest in home runs is Kyle Schwarber. I forget the exact number, but he's in like the high 30s. Judge is like 18 or 19 more home runs. The home run race isn't even close. You remove Judge from this Yankee lineup, this Yankee team is nothing. You remove Shohei Ohtani from the Angels lineup, the Angels still stink. You put them in the lineup, they still stink. We're talking about most valuable here, people. Aaron Judge is the MVP. You remove him from this Yankee lineup, the Yankees are nothing. This Yankee team's hard to watch, and I'm admitting to that. They left 10 runners on yesterday. The bottom of the order is giving you nothing. I mean, you look at up and down the lineup, you could tear it apart outside of Judge. Yankees team batting average now all the way down to 238. Look at the batting average of the Yankees right now. 211, 219, 218, 217, 191. Rizzo's in the low 220s, high teens, I think. Judge batting coming in yesterday, batting 296. And that went up. He's got 100-plus RBIs, leads the league in home runs. Aaron Judge is the MVP, and Aaron Judge needs a contract. If you let Aaron Judge go after this season, well, that's going to be bad. If you let Aaron Judge go after this year, which Brian Cashman just might, because Cashman's a terrible GM. And Tierney brought up a good point. Brandon Tierney also does a good job on WFAN. Him and Tiki and Tierney. You wonder if Judge, and this is the real concern, you wonder if Judge does look around this locker room, not quite literally, and picks guys out, but you wonder if he looks around the locker room and really wonders, does this give me the best chance to win a championship? Does it? Does this team? And old Josh Donaldson, Anthony Rizzo's got back issues, Aaron Hicks, who's terrible. I mean, when you look up and down this Yankee lineup, it's bad. It's really bad. And you start to wonder now with this Yankee team, outside of Aaron Judge, and we've talked about this a lot with, the Rays, where they're just the Rays are a team that relies on pitching and a team that does not hit much, and they rely on pitching, rely on their fielding to win games, right? You wonder if we've gotten to that point with the Yankees, where the Yankees aren't an offensive team. They're going to win games with their pitching. That seems what it's like now. That seems what it's like. Because when you look up and down this lineup, there's nobody outside of Judge. So Judge continues his dominance. Aaron Judge wins the game yesterday. Judge 2, Rays 1. That's literally how it is. I mean, it's the truth. I mean, look at the game on Saturday. It was Judge 1, Rays 2. And Montez pitched great yesterday to go into the pitching. 5 innings, 1 run, 1 hit, no runs, 7 Ks over 5 innings of work. ERA goes from 2.94 to 3.7 or 3.94 to 3.79. Was efficient. Kind of efficient. There was a couple plays, errors, and couple good battles. I know Terrell Walls had a nice battle and stuff like that. I mean, I think that second inning really set the tone where he got Peralta, Paredes, and Bethancourt to strike out swinging 1, 2, 3 in the second. It was good to see. You obviously had Donaldson come out of the dugout yesterday, but the Yankees get the win, and it's thanks to Aaron Judge. He hits the home run in the first inning. There was real no looking back then. Clay Holmes has another choppy ninth, and you still wonder, what is Clay Holmes? What is Clay Holmes? Because he's really been struggling. Comes off the IL, has a really tough outing yesterday. I know he got the save, but still, it's just 1 inning, 3 hits, 1 run, 1 K, 20 pitches, 14 strikes, and even that strike 3 call was close. I mean, it was borderline. Look, however you want to put it, if you're whatever it is. If he walks Diaz, G-Man Choi comes up, who struck out twice in the game, was 0 for 4, and was 5 for his last 50. And he's batting .231 going into yesterday's game. So even if he would have walked Yandy Diaz and walked the bases loaded, it wasn't like G-Man Choi's a true threat. Yandy Diaz is having a very good season. Went into yesterday's game batting .288, went 2 for 5 with 2 singles. So he was a guy, maybe they were trying to pitch around a little bit, who knows. But, it was not a strike. When he got over the plate, it was low. It's an umpire's call. I'm sure if this was called against Aaron Judge, Yankee fans would be complaining. It is what it is. It was a strike. They win. So, look, Yankees still have a lot of things they got to work on. They still got to find a way to hit. Because outside of Judge, and again, this just shows you how good of a year Judge is having. He's single-handedly carrying this team. That's what he's doing. He's carrying it. So, Yankees finally get to 80 wins. They move to 80-54 on the season. Rays fall to 74-58. And Yankees will open up a 4-game set today at Yankee Stadium against the Twins. A little bit of a Labor Day matinee game today, 105. And then once tomorrow hits, it's full, everybody back to work, all that stuff, and it's kind of full blown ahead, getting ready for the football season. All right, so let's finish things off here and get ready for the New York Sports Update. Like I said, Yankees, Mets today. Both got day games, so looking forward to that. Love afternoon baseball, a lot of fun. A lot of day games on today. You got the Orioles, Blue Jays, Rockies, Brewers, Rays, Red Sox, Nationals, Cardinals, Blue Jays, Orioles, Padres, Diamondbacks, Guardians, Royals, Mariners, White Sox, Astros, Rangers, Angels, Tigers, and the Giants, Dodgers. Mets today. I thought they were today. I thought the Mets were today. It's not coming up for some reason on here. So the Mets play tonight, or play today, I should say. Game got postponed due to rain. So Met game got postponed. I'm just learning that now. So the Met game has been postponed. I was wondering why, because I was scrolling through here, and for some reason it didn't say the Met game. So the Met game got postponed today due to rain. So it looks like tomorrow they'll play. What, do they play a doubleheader? I don't know. So the game just got postponed. I apologize for that. Oh, they'll play a doubleheader Wednesday. So they'll have a game 12:35 on Wednesday and a 6:35 game on Wednesday. So they'll have a doubleheader on Wednesday for the Mets. So their game got postponed today. Yankees, Twins today, though. That game is still on. Twins got Chris Archer on the mound. He's 2-7 with a 4.52 ERA. Yankees got Jameson Taillon on the mound. He's 12-4 with a 3.97 ERA. Over-under set at 8.5. Yankees come into tonight's game 80-54. Twins come into the game 68-64. 105 Eastern LB Network. You'd also find it on Yes. By the way, college football. What a weekend. Very good. A lot of really good games. Notre Dame, Ohio State was a pretty good one. A lot of defense. I mean, just a phenomenal game last night between Florida State and LSU. What a game! Yeah, obviously you had the muff punt by LSU. They get the ball, or Florida State gets the ball. They then fumble it. LSU goes 99 yards, scores the touchdown, all that way to then get the extra point block. So Brian Kelly in his first game at the helm in LSU takes the loss. And for Scott Norvell, I mean, really the first big win for Florida State. You can make the argument that was really their first big win in really a long time. You could really say that because, I mean, it really was. So, for Norvell, very good win for him, and obviously Mike Norvell, rather his name. So very good win for him, and really, you could, like I said, the first big win for Florida State in a very long time. Very long time. They've been really struggling for the past couple seasons. For a long time now. They have not been the same team they once were, with Jimbo Fisher, Jameis Winston, and all them. You got Clemson, Georgia Tech tonight, 8 Eastern, ESPN. So that'll be a little Monday night college football action. So good, exciting, and fun week 1 of college football. And as for fantasy baseball, lose in both leagues. So a really tough week. In my main league, I fall to 15-5. Today, really, I got 2 pitchers going, Jose Barrios and Logan Webb. And as for my other league, my fantasy league, my main league, I lost 318 to 284. This is the final week of the regular season. And as for my other league, I lost 250 to 248. So really tough loss there. And final week as well. So, and in my other league, I got Jose Barrios, Logan Webb on the mound. In my main league, like I said, Jose Barrios, Logan Webb. So 2 tough losses in fantasy baseball, final week in fantasy. It's funny. This is the time of year in fantasy, time of year in sports, because you got baseball going into October. You got fantasy baseball in the prime of it going into the playoffs. Then you got fantasy football starting and football starting as well as a whole. So a lot of excitement. It's game week, officially game week. Jets, Ravens. I think Sal speaks to the media today, so I'm sure we'll learn. I'm sure a question's going to pop up whether or not Zach Wilson's going to practice or not. This is kind of the big week to figure that out. Jets have kind of been hiding it, haven't said much. I don't foresee him practicing. I think he'll probably be out, but I guess we'll see today. I think it's probably a safer bet not to rush him back, but I guess we'll see what that is. And yeah, it's game week. Tuesday, tomorrow, and then football season coming up. Just at this point, it's only Monday, but you're just working to get to football Friday, working to get to Sunday or Saturday and Sunday, and then football and all that great stuff. So looking forward to all that. Baseball today, no Mets. Game got postponed, but Yankees on today, 1:05 Eastern, back at Yankee Stadium. Open up of a 7-game homestand, 4 against the Twins, 3 more against the Rays. So that will do it for another episode of the BSN podcast. As always, we'll see you all back here tomorrow. Hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.